The information provided by the speakers and/or presenter on Facebook and YouTube is for general informational purposes only. All information is provided in good faith. However, Constructive Talk makes no representation or warranty of any kind, express or implied, regarding the accuracy, adequacy, validity, reliability, availability, or completeness of this information. The information provided by the speakers and/or presenter on Facebook and YouTube is for general informational purposes only. All information is provided in good faith. However, Constructive Talk makes no representation or warranty of any kind, express or implied, regarding the accuracy, adequacy, validity, reliability, availability, or completeness of this information.
The Constructive Talk team with Pastor Google are asking for your support in their back-to-school drive. Let's help the less fortunate children get ready for the new school term. Donations of notebooks, copybooks, stationeries, and book bags would be greatly appreciated. Show your love, show your generosity by contacting 464-703, and we will organize collection of your donations. Thank you from the Constructive Talk team. And remember to be kind, be generous, and be loved.
Coming soon to Constructive Talk Network, Critical Thinkers. It's a youth show with a youth perspective on current affairs and issues in Trinidad and Tobago. Critical Thinkers, youth perspective on Constructive Talk. Coming soon to Constructive Talk Network, Critical Thinkers. It's a youth show with a youth perspective on current affairs and issues in Trinidad and Tobago. Critical Thinkers, youth perspective on Constructive Talk.
A honey badger suddenly locked its sharp teeth onto the back leg of a hippo. Blood started coming out of the hippo's leg, but the hippo neither ran away nor attacked the honey badger. Instead, it slowly started moving toward the water. The honey badger thought the giant animal had become scared because of its aggression. But the moment the hippo entered the water, the entire game changed. The hippo could survive underwater, but the honey badger could not. Within 25 seconds, water started entering the honey badger's nose, and its grip finally loosened. The hippo did not fight back. It simply changed the dimension of the battlefield. In psychology, this is called the dimension advantage strategy. Not every attack needs a direct response, because the moment you react to everything, you come down to the other person's level. Remember this, truly strong people do not waste time fighting everyone. They simply rise so high that the other person sinks on their own.
I want to start by reading a quote for you that is trending online now. Someone sent it to me and I saw it so many times. I think it's good for us to read this quote. I'm sure when I start to read it, you will be familiar with it. It says, out of hatred for the cockroach, the ants voted for the insecticide. Out of hatred for the cockroach, the ants voted for the insecticide. They all died, big on in the tail, including the housefly that didn't even vote. They all died, including the housefly that didn't even vote. It says an African proverb, but it could be a Trinidadian and Tobagonian proverb. It is so true of our situation here today.
You need to also understand that I believe all white people are racist. And in order to understand when I say all white people are racist, I need you to make sure you understand the difference between racism and bigotry. Racism is not racial hate. That is bigotry. See, if I hate you because you're black, because you're white, because you're Asian, because you're Arab, because you're Latino, because you're East Indian, because you're Native American, if I hate you because of that, that's bigotry. If I am emotionally connected to disrespecting or hindering or undermining your group, that is bigotry. Racism is not bigotry. Racism is the monopolization of all resources, opportunities, and privileges in a given society to make sure your group always benefits from them first, and that the targeted group or the victim of racism is always marginalized and never receives enough of those resources, opportunities, and privileges to ever compete with the in group. Racism is not emotion. Racism is business. I want white people to control most of the banks. I want white people to control the criminal justice system. I want white people to control the public school system. And this is why when we have conversations about racism in America, when people say, well, you know, black people are their own worst enemies. And sometimes you'll get American Africans who say the same thing. And I'll push back and I'll say, we're not our worst enemy. We might be the second or third, but we're not the worst, because we don't control the miseducation system that's misdiagnosing black children in Orlando or misdiagnosing black children in Miami and putting them in, juvenile detention schools and doping them up with Ritalin and Adderall and Concerta. We don't control the prisons. We don't control the school system. We don't control the justice system. We don't control the economy. The main systems that oppress black people, we control absolutely none of them. They are firmly in the hand of racism.
Emancipation Day because of Indian holiday, all when I go on some quite black, all your wicked. We hate them into blacks and bias and racial. Yeah, poor people suffering, including all the black people that shut the damn out. Emancipation Day because of Indian holiday, all when I go on some quite black, all your wicked. We hate them into blacks and bias and racial. Yeah, poor people suffering, including all the black people that shut the damn out.
On other issues that taking place in Trinidad and Tobago as well, but I like this discussion,
I love this discussion.
Black people,
because
this all they want.
Yeah,
all they don't know what they want.
Wake up and
all these
stay
black
to
people,
claim.
all these black people in this program, and you tell me none of them know what they want? So then wait is all they complaining for.
They know exactly what they want.
For you to start to complain
They
about
want that
something.
big weed in their mouth.
Yeah.
A Jordan on the foot. A moccasin and a stout. And a C-pep. And they're good with that. They're good with that.
Pants with no belt.
A
So
pants
I tell you what.
That's what they want.
Let me get to the 10 o'clock news, people.
They don't want to open no chain of restaurant or no chain of groceries. They don't want nothing like that. They're not coming together for that. They ain't no gang to come together for. But shooting.
No, yeah, for sure.
And
for
jumping
sure,
in a
for
car
sure.
and going and shoot down your brother. Yeah, we love that.
We in that.
But we ain't forming a gang for that.
All right, keep it right
Mr.
here.
Speaker, it have plenty people who vote for me who work CPEPs and I see them in the red jersey, but they voted for the UNC and
Emancipation Day because of Indian holiday, all when I go on some quite black, all your wicked. We hate them into blacks and bias and racial. Yeah, poor people suffering, including all the black people that shut the damn out. Emancipation Day because of Indian holiday, all when I go on some quite black, all your wicked. We hate them into blacks and bias and racial. Yeah, poor people suffering, including all the black people that shut the damn out.
So as we get ready for our next performer, one of the songs that are afraid to be a wrong. The name of the song is Big Sale. The name of the singer, Queen Victoria.
Africans, for sale, for sale, for sale. Africans, for sale, for sale, for sale.
All you good, yes? I was lying with some old men before the election, and well, I was amazed of their discussion. They were discussing the election of 2025. How Africans were selling cheap and UNC buying dead or alive. One old man shout out, fellas, give me your attention. UNC can't win by themselves, no election. You see, they're sitting and they're planning to make a decision. So she called out Shilaga, who the old FIFA wanted man. She said, call the trade union, let we start negotiations. And we could call out a big sale and we go buy out some Africans. Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. We buying Africans. Sing the thing. Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. We buying Africans. She don't have all she chance and she the honor rhymes. No, what she need is some slave names, man, some big strong Africans. Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. We buying good or bad. Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. Tobago and Trinidad. Oh, somebody pinch me. Hey, UNC sitting and they're waiting patiently. With about 16 safe seats, they don't win that already. The woman said, I have my people, and they are born UNCs. Now all I need is some Africans who got their names out of slavery. She said that she hear they're really selling cheap, and she could buy them very cheap, 500 and a jersey. A lot of people will cry when she's finished with CPEP, because she is not holding back them PNM have nothing to get. She said it's party before country, all you never, never forget. She will care for her people and she have no blasting regrets. Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. We buying Africans. She buying Africans for sale, for sale. Listen, we buying Africans. She said we like crab in a barrel. We pulling each other down. But I want their votes, so I jam them the winning song. And all they know it, Africans when you see wins, everybody wins. Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. Tobago and Trinidad. Hi, who called me? I want this verse slow, right? Black mines in Tobago, she's working on them with ease, but she's not afraid because monkeys say cool breeze. She said the last time she was easy, this time there is no room for mistakes, cause when she's done with Tobago, it's either they make or break. She has her eyes on Maruga, especially Samuel Cooper. They got a lot of P&M houses, but none of them can remember. She's buying some in 6 company because they're nice, they're bad and they're trim. Their ancestors came from Africa and all of them is Americans. She passed through 5 company and she bounced up Madingo. Well, boy, she makes she name cause she get Africans. Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. We buying Africans. Kill them. Africans for sale, for sale. Listen this. We buying Africans. Doc Faisabad was pretty serious with a reach in the cemetery. He said I'm waiting for refinery point and man had to be crazy. What? Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. We buying good or bad. Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. Tobago and Trinidad. I never meet too cohesive man so. She said my people are loyal. They don't vote for other parties. But them PNM people just show them some money, staggered roti. She said, I have my safe seats in the safe hands of Caroni. She go on to St. Couva, straight down to St. Paris. She said, I love my people. For 10 years, we out in the rain. But when I get back in there, things will never be the same. To all of my people, you must get your rightful place. And I don't care who's sitting there and think I am talking race. You all know what's hurting me. You see that, Dr. Rowley? We don't hide up all we money. The damn man change the currency. Hey! Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. We buying Africans. Kill them. Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. We buying Africans. They bought out PSA. They got them for 10%. Now they could beat the chest and laugh because they know it's money well spent. All your love, all your Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. We buying good or bad. Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. Tobago and Trinidad. Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. We buying Africans. Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. We buying Africans. Africans for sale, for sale. I said give me a F, A, F, O, and let them know that is the code. Oh Lord, some say the code is this, some tell me it's that, but I go hear the facts. Give me. We experiencing a global phenomenon. With serious issues, mankind choose to fool around. Then they go find out, facing real consequences, that when you play totish games, you win foolish prizes. The mighty US of A, look how them in disarray, because they forget the first dose of madness. So with the short-term memory, they welcome back Donald T to give that fascist a second term in office. But after they take the bait and they realize where's the fate, enough of them want to change the vote, but it is too late. You see the FA, FO, you see the FA, now they go FO. Plenty immigrants made their choice. Uncle Donald they're supporting, but he put their support on ice and themselves he start deporting. FA, FO, I see the FA. Because it now so keen, he naming the Epstein files. So they now studying like they're voting a presidential pedophile. FA, FO, I said the FA, now they go FO. You see when you're ever wrong, there's no doubt. Even Uncle Sam will find out that what's our in Bam Bam starts sweet in the mouth. When you shout FA, FO, I tell you that is, tell them that is the code. Oh, say, can you see? You see the code? Come in. Trinidadian love all fours, you know that is the truth. So when America Trump, we just follow suit. If them MAGA morons is America's concern, well, we present government is easily the close.
so obscene, scandalize the land and destroy we economy. What? Like we missed the free for all, incompetence and bubble. So we bring them back to finish mash up the country. And as they assume their roles, I set a square peg in wrong holes. Now plenty people who help them win at the polls. Feel the FA, FO. They say the FA, now they go FO. The two worst Alexanders in the world and team make ministers. One is a racist troll and one need a West Indian first primer. FA, FO. I say the FA, now we go FO. Meanwhile, Tanti setting up TNT in people worship we in place. She should have let the Yankee army plant the radar in shipping palace. FA, FO. I say the FA, now she go FO. You see when you're FA wrong, there's no doubt. Persona non grata must find out that what's our in Bam Bam starts sweet in she mouth. Sing it out. FA, FO. Tell you that is, tell them that is the code. Cause when code yellow wins, corruption begins. Where's the real code? Let me talk to the doc. Doc, you had the mandate of most of the electorate, not to mention the support of your party base. Somehow you took that to mean you could manipulate and dictate the decision of who should take your place. And because you were the top dog, you move like an overlord. You find when you tell them jump, they should have asked how high. You set out to sway the vote, offer up a young scapegoat to just get a kobo sweat after you say bye-bye. You delay party convention, play with party constitution, and figure you could have gerrymander the outcome. But your FA, FO, your FA, and then your FO. You chain up the young man for truth to snap the election fingers fast. Although every poll warn you that would have be a shortcut as FA, FO, your FA, now all of we FO. So for your voters who stayed away, you certainly have a part to play. But they feel like they get betrayed like it has snake in the valleys. FA, FO, I say your FA, now all of we FO. You see when you're FA wrong without doubt, even strong leaders find out that what's our in Bam Bam starts sweet in the mouth. When you shout FA, FO, and that is, tell them that is the code. So let's do this. Let's do this red and ready to oppose. Give me a F. Give me a A. Another F. Give me a O.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Good evening to those of you locked on to Constructive Talk. With me, Pastor Google. I am with you until 11 o'clock. And on this platform, we discuss current affairs and issues that's happening in Trinidad and Tobago. And this evening is no different. I know I promised you that I would try to get my dad on this evening, but unfortunately, he is not with me this evening. But we have issues to talk about that I believe, we can talk. And sometimes some people say, oh boy, we fed up at the talking, Pastor Google. We need to do something. We need to get something done. But what can we do? Do we live in a democracy? We had a free and fair general election. EBC did their job. Some people didn't. Some people didn't go out and vote. But we as a nation need to take stock of what's going on. Be aware of what's happening. Be aware of what's happening. You see, one of our problems is that as a nation, we don't be aware of what's going on around us. So there may be things happening that should warrant your attention, and some of you joke it off. You know, our friend, she don't want to hear more politics. You know, the only time she does vote and the only election she does vote in is local. She don't vote for general. She's vote for local because she finds that local is a little more personal, because the person who's growing up in her community is somebody who she knows, she grew up with, she's aware of, she sees the work that they have been doing consistently in the community. So for her, she prefers local than general. You know, today I was talking to her about the situation where the imam would have said that he is urging Muslims. She don't want to hear that. She don't want to hear that. I was talking to her about the CDAP drugs that people who have chronic illness like diabetes, hypertension, different things cannot get their drugs. And she doesn't want to hear about that because that don't affect her. And that's how sometimes some people operate. Some people operate in that realm of it don't bother me, so I don't really care. While some people it might be okay, I understand, but they choose that. They could have not. We could have been in a better position today. So there are some people who that's just how some people operate, and I think as a nation there's some changes that we need to make. You know, there's some changes that we need to make, and we need to be conscious of how we're going to make these changes. So again, good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. You know, we have started a discussion on constructive talk where when we see certain things, we need to highlight it to the point where we bring a solution to it and tell the opposition, hey, this is what's happening, and we think that you need to put out your position on it and let people know that you disagree or you are willing to what's the word I want to use? These are the suggestions of the proposals that you are making in seeing a change in Trinidad and Tobago. So again, let me say good evening to all of you joining me on YouTube. Could you all please let me know where you're looking at me from? All right, just let me know where you're looking at me from. Just type in, you know, if you're from San Fernando, if you're from Princestown, you're from Miaro, you're from Toko, Grandi, where you're looking at me from. And I would appreciate a whole lot if you just indicate to me where you're touching base so that we can highlight it. And apart from that, we can also know for a fact that, hey, there are persons, this is not a paid, you know, there are some people pay to push their things out there. This is raw, unadulterated people who are on a live, being aware and conscious of what is going on in Trinidad and Tobago. So when you come on the live, please just indicate to me where you're going to be, where are you looking at me from? Where are you looking at me from so that I can highlight your area and say thank you to you and, you know, your community. Okay. On Saturday, Trinidad and Tobago will be celebrating African Emancipation Day. On Saturday, Trinidad and Tobago will be celebrating African Emancipation. In the midst of all that's going on in Trinidad and Tobago, in the midst of all that is happening in Trinidad and Tobago, the hate, and yes, there are people who hate us. Some of you may not want to hear it, but it is the truth. There are some people who hate us. There are some people who don't like us. There are some people who blatantly say to us, they hated Dr. Rowley. You know? They hated Dr. Rowley. And if you can hate Dr. Rowley, then you can hate people who look like him. You know what I mean? So, on Saturday, we'll be celebrating African emancipation. African emancipation. And I think we need to wake up. We need to wake up. We need to get up. We need to shake up. All right?
I started to run when I scope out my country. I walk by a gun, ole, 'cause that is what they promise we. A lot's going on in the sun, so I come here to bring wisdom, so we don't burn down. We lovely society. A new government has the assignment to put we country into alignment. But every time they read us with their ego, it's the vulnerable who feeling that blow. Lord, is it ignorance or is it arrogance? I don't know what to call it in this instance. Look at paradise right in front we eyes, but we still want to talk about who we despise. Tell me where else can we go? If we start to mash up the good things we know. Tell me where else can we go? If we treat we traditions like a papi show, you could fix everything on we island. Put gunships on we back like a tyrant. You could put 10 radars all up Scarborough. But don't forget, this is Trinidad. We love we freedom, and every citizen will agree that no oppression will be accepted by our Trini. We come from long days on the ground, working hard until daylight come, so we'll see it wrong to be a financial donkey. 'Cause every day we see a new taxation that causing a new kind of sufferation. And when you don't create that irritation, you send police to fix with desperation. Lord, where's the common sense? Where's the true intent to make you think oppression is relevant? Don't be shocked, my friend, when we start to bend and you see them placards in front of the parliament. Tell me where else can we go? If we little children are not free to grow. Tell me where else can we go? If they try to ban the words in the calypso, you could try to stop social media or the taping of police murders. You could rewrite a bill like this also. But don't forget, this is Trinidad. Take one look around. Even lingo and all could see confusions in tongue. And it's affecting everybody. Politicians and Facebook trolls. Even Kaisonians lost their role. The world's upside down. And I'm worried for my country. 'Cause every day I see victimization, racial and social aberration. We saying is love need to go wrong, but we spreading this thing like a toxin. Man, things getting so tense. Some can't pay their rent, and the effect of this feeling permanent. But what scares me though, just so that you know, is the money we about to borrow. Tell me where else can we go? If the IMF start to pull we toe. Tell me where else can we go? If we toilet paper start to run too low, you could stress out the CPEP worker. Take a fool and make him a leader. You could change every board cause it's your show. But don't forget, this is Trinidad. I know it's good intentions. We Prime Minister have for we, but brutal measures would only cause rebellion in TNT, like what caused Cambule in times of old. And it's so the story unfold. It's that rebellion that give we people identity. So careful how you deal with we intellect, cause DNA remembers every aspect. Not every time we cry is just politics. Your mind could start to play you some dirty tricks. Look, remember that honor comes before minister, and that's why we give you so much power. So don't let us down, and don't let us frown. We need to see our 360 turn around. Tell me where else can we go? If your promises start to look untrue, tell me where else can we go? If your own voters losing trust in you, you could do what you want with what intent? You could bar talk the independent bench. You could change the country that we once know. But don't forget, this is Trinidad.
While a Washington Post investigation says a U.S. military campaign has failed to reduce the flow of cocaine into the United States, Trinidad and Tobago's defense minister insists the operation has been a success for this country.
Wayne Sturge says Operation Southern Spear gave the TT Coast Guard the breathing room needed to rebuild its naval capabilities and dramatically improve the interception of suspected vessels in local waters. More from Akash Samaru.
Every time a suspected drug boat exploded at sea, it was presented as another blow against the drug trade. Another shipment kept from reaching the United States and the Caribbean, along with the violence and criminal networks that fuel it. But a Washington Post investigation now claims those high-profile military strikes failed to reduce either the supply or the price of cocaine in the United States. Instead, it reported that traffickers adapted by abandoning high-speed go-fast boats in favor of larger vessels, hugging coastlines where U.S. forces were less likely to strike, and increasingly relying on aircraft departing clandestine airstrips along the Colombian-Venezuelan border for Guyana and Suriname. Now, this prompted CNC3 News to ask Defense Minister Wayne Sturge whether Operation Southern Spear had reduced drug trafficking into Trinidad and Tobago, and if it should be considered a success for the country. The minister said the operation delivered significant benefits by giving the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force time to restore its naval capabilities. Minister Sturge said Operation Southern Spear gave TNT much-needed breathing room to get its naval assets up to 75% capacity, and from the daily updates he receives, he can say for certain that the interception rates of suspected drug vessels entering this country's territorial waters are near 100%. Sturge, however, acknowledged that maritime interception alone would not solve the country's long-standing trafficking problem. He told CNC3 News the government remains fully aware of the fact that for the last 2 decades, most of the illegal firearms and narcotics enter through ports of legal entry, and that is something the state is still working on. CNC3 News asked for statistical evidence that less drugs are now coming into the country. However, the minister directed us to the police service. And questions on if Operation Southern Spear continues were referred to the U.S. Military Liaison Office of the U.S. Embassy. That request for data was sent to the TTPS late this afternoon, and we are awaiting a response. Akash Samaru, CNC3 News.
The Coast Guard is reporting its third maritime incident in a matter of days after several foreign nationals escaped into a Chatham forest during a chase. Officials say officers were pursuing a vessel yesterday when it was breached and abandoned by its occupants, who fled into the surrounding forest. A subsequent search failed to locate them. A search of the vessel uncovered assorted food items, clothing and livestock. The vessel was later secured and handed over to authorities for further investigations. The incident follows two other Coast Guard operations within the last 48 hours. One resulted in the seizure of 252 packets of a green plant-like substance from a pirogue traveling from Venezuela, while another led to the interception of a pirogue carrying 7 Venezuelan nationals near Monos Island. Meanwhile, the Venezuelan ambassador to this country says there seems to be a decline in the number of Venezuelans illegally entering TNT, despite not having the evidence to support his claim.
Interesting. I had to play that this evening for you to be aware of how passive aggression about the Venezuelans traveling to and fro from Venezuela to Trinidad. Real passive aggressive, eh? Real passive aggressive. Interesting. Take a listen to this. Take a listen to this.
Just so you know, I'm here as a citizen. This is wrong. The Rowley government is wrong. They have to close. Bring here for us today. It should be all. Just so you know, I'm here as a citizen. This is wrong. The Rowley government is wrong. They have to close the border. Yes! Donald Trump has closed it. Bring here for us today. It should be all the Coast Guard. Tonight, that's where they should be. Where the Coast Guard vessels. We paying $700 million a year. The Coast Guard to eat in Shagaramas. Yeah, tell them. Coast Guard boats. Nobody saw that. All of them right there. Close the borders. 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 I'm here as a citizen. This is wrong. The Rowley government is wrong. They have to close the border. Yes! Donald Trump has closed it. Bring here for us today. It should be all the Coast Guard. Tonight, that's where they should be. Where the Coast Guard vessels. We paying $700 million a year. The Coast Guard to eat in Shagaramas. Yeah, tell them. Coast Guard boats. Nobody saw that. All of them right there. Close the borders. 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 Under Dr. Rowley, there's a protest. Close the borders. No. What we seeing happening? 3 incidents. Plant-like substance, copper. A 6-year-old die. And we
just passive aggressive, you know. We passive aggressive. But under Dr. Rowley, as I said last night, there were protests of persons requesting that the borders be closed. The borders don't need to be closed anymore. Borders could stay open. I'm just asking for a friend, you know, because I've been really told you, when we watch what's going on and what people are seeing in this country, you really wonder. You really, really wonder what is happening. But it's just, you know, really, really sad. It's really sad. Today, the opposition had a press conference, and at the press conference, you would have heard the opposition leader, you would have heard Mr. Imbert, you would have heard Mr. Amy Brown, and you would have heard Mr. Sanjeev Pudu. Mr. Sanjeev Pudu would have dealt with the legal aspect of the SOE and how right is it. And he would have pulled the constitution and showed why and when should we have a SOE. Mr. Imbert would have dealt with the economy. Also, we had, who again? We had Mr. Imbert dealing with the economy, and we had Dr. Amy Brown dealing with foreign affairs issues, and we had the opposition leader dealing with current affairs and things that are going on in Trinidad and Tobago. I want to play for you statements made by the opposition leader, and it's something that I think, you know, we need to take note of. So take a listen to snippets from the opposition press conference today.
Meanwhile, opposition leader Penelope Beckles is questioning why no criminal charges have been laid if the government believes it has evidence of a conspiracy to assassinate the Prime Minister.
Beckles argued that authorities have repeatedly claimed to have intelligence linking individuals to serious criminal activity, yet they've relied on the SOE and PDOs.
If you have evidence of a conspiracy to murder, you are simply going to use the state of emergency? I mean, for such a serious allegation, how is it that you haven't charged them? So you continuously use the state of emergency and the PDO.
Beckles also dismissed suggestions that references of MP Stuart Young in the alleged leaked audio should be viewed as evidence of wrongdoing. She says anyone's name could be mentioned in a conversation and cautions against drawing conclusions.
She also expressed concern over what she described as attempts to inject race into the public discourse while declining to comment directly on matters before the court. She rejected suggestions that the PNM should be associated with any particular ethnic group, saying the party represents people of every race.
I am calling on the government and the people of Trinidad and Tobago to recognize it doesn't help us as a country for us to put race in the forefront. But what we must never do is to fuel race. And from what I'm seeing, this government is fueling issues as it relates to race, which does not help us.
Beckles also insisted the PNM will not be distracted by what she described as the government's attempts to shift the public's focus away from crime.
So that was the opposition leader giving her view and her points on what's going on in Trinidad and Tobago and the distraction. And yes, some people are being distracted by plenty other things, like plenty things in this country. You know, I just found a video, because I just spoke to you guys about the Venezuelans and they coming in. And I just found a video from tonight's news, actually, that I wanted to play for you guys, where the police saying now about what's going on in the southern peninsula, where people are coming in, Low Zero, Cedros, those areas, people are still coming in, you know. But the Venezuelan embassy is saying, we don't think so. It's minimized, it's going down. But you all have an earthquake. And you have issues. You all still have issues. But I want to play something for you. And that's why I played that clip a while ago of the people chanting, close the borders, close the borders. Really? I want you to listen to this.
Police say they are maintaining a close watch on Trinidad's southwestern coastline following last week's tragedy that claimed the life of a Venezuelan child. At a TTPS media briefing today, ASP Joel Forbes said the area has long been used as an illegal entry point for migrants and remains a focus for law enforcement. Referring to the recent incident in which the child's body washed ashore, Forbes said officers are working alongside the Defense Force to tackle illegal migration. He added that police and Coast Guard continue to patrol the area in an effort to curb unlawful entries and prevent further loss of life.
All right. So you heard that. You heard that. As I tell you all, you know, this country, right? We have issues and we need to solve the issues. We need to solve the issues. And we need to stop allowing people to fool us. Okay? We just stop allowing people to fool us. Take us for fools. You know what I mean? We need to. So I'm going to play another clip for you from this evening news. The UN report. The UN report. Take a listen to this, where Dr. Amy Brown also breaks down for us what's going on and what we as a nation has done under the Kamala Persad-Bissessar governance.
Foreign and CARICOM Affairs Minister Sean Sobers is defending government's recent decision to vote against extending the term of United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk.
Trinidad and Tobago was the only CARICOM country to oppose the extension, joining nations including the United States, Russia and North Korea. The move drew criticism from former Foreign Affairs Minister Dr. Amy Brown, who claimed the government had failed to explain its position and suggested the country's foreign policy was being compromised. But Sobers says the vote had nothing to do with Turk's performance or TNT's position on the Israel-Palestine conflict. He said government's objection was to what it described as a rushed appointment process.
We saw that the concerns that were raised were not properly dealt with, and we voted in a particular way to demonstrate that, listen, we're not comfortable with the manner in which this vote would have taken place. But it has nothing to do with the work of the Human Rights Council. It has nothing to do with the person himself. As I said before, he has done some good work.
He also accused the opposition of misleading the public and fear-mongering by linking the vote to the Israel-Palestine issue. Meanwhile, Dr. Amy Brown renewed his criticism of the government's decision, describing TNT's vote as bizarre. He maintained that foreign policy belongs to the citizens and not to any administration.
The foreign policy of a country is not your personal property to negotiate away, to trade away, to sell away, or to fritter away our sovereignty. These policies belong to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and you have to account to them.
Meanwhile, Minister Saddam Hussein says the UNC administration has made strengthening relations with Muslim-majority nations a foreign policy priority since taking office.
Earlier today, Minister of Planning, Economic Affairs and Development Kennedy Swartzing met with both Matanya Cohen, Ambassador of Israel to Trinidad and Tobago, and Einat Schlein, Ambassador and Director General of Mashav, Israel's Agency for International Development Cooperation, for bilateral discussions.
I don't know what to say, I don't know what to say. I am just playing the clips. I want to hear your views. I don't know what to say. I just playing the clips and hearing your views. We heard Dr. Amy Brown. We hear what Dr. Amy Brown is saying. This is not your personal thing. This really have to do with a bigger picture. But most of us are aware that this is really the UNC and Trump and follow suit. You know, that's what it is really about. I listen to the news and sometimes my heart break. Because for what we accept now for governance. But take a listen to this one. I would have called a radio station this week. And in calling the radio station, I would have mentioned to the announcers about the same Venezuelan issue, how passive we are about it. And I also talked about the CDAP drugs. Some people may have felt as though I'm talking from a place of not knowing. Right? But CDAP drugs is scarce. It's scarce. But I want to play for you. I want to play it for you. What was in the news? And you know, for me, I'm just cool. I am just doing what I believe is right, which is highlighting these things. So I would have highlighted it on a radio station. What's going on with the CDAP drugs in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm pleased that this week, the week isn't ended as yet, but a television station could have highlighted it because it's an issue. Take a listen to this.
Patients relying on the Chronic Disease Assistance Program, known as CDAP, continue to report difficulties accessing essential medication for diabetes, hypertension, and high cholesterol, while Health Minister Dr. Lakram Bodo says the issue is largely one of distribution and supply chain management. Pharmacy associations say the problem runs deeper, with shortages affecting patients for months. The minister acknowledged that improving the availability of medicines remains one of the ministry's biggest challenges, alongside shortages of healthcare workers. But pharmacists on the front line say many commonly prescribed medications have been difficult to obtain since late last year.
You might have shortages here and there. There's always the opportunity in any particular RHA to try and source the drug if it's not available at one health center. Sometimes it's available at another health center. The pharmacists have been instructed, in fact, that if at their particular pharmacy there is a shortage of a particular drug, it is incumbent upon them to call around within the region and to find out, if it's available at another pharmacy. It might be a distribution issue, and it's really a supply chain issue as well.
The Association of Pharmacist-Owned Pharmacies says the situation is forcing many patients to purchase medication privately at a time when many households are already under financial strain. A second pharmacy body agrees distribution is only part of the problem. The Private Pharmacy Retail Business Association says delayed payments to pharmaceutical distributors have also disrupted supplies, although it believes the situation is beginning to improve following recent government payments and new CDAP tenders. The association expects some medications currently in short supply to return during the August supply cycle.
So here's where I come in and I ask you, are you comfortable with what you just heard from the minister? Are you comfortable? 464-7003. 464-7003. Are you comfortable with what you just heard from the Minister of Health? Are you comfortable with what you just heard from the Minister of Health? The Minister of Health is saying, You know, he painting a picture that, hey, everything hunky-dory, everything is not, it's not that bad. It's not that bad as Pastor Google is making it to look. It's not that bad as the drugstore owners making it out to look. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Hello, good evening.
Pastor Google, good night.
Hi.
We also had a problem with those bigger pharmacies. They was importing a lot of these drugs, and smaller pharmacies was having problems to get drugs. So I don't know if it's the same thing going on. It had a monopoly there, and they had in Parliament they was talking about it. So I don't know if they solved that problem where you had the bigger, more popular drugstores hoarding most of the drugs, and the smaller ones wasn't getting, the smaller drugstores wasn't getting the drugs. And then they went in public accounts. In Parliament now, it have a program they keep to address the disparity in the distribution of the drugs.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's similar things still going on. We have a monopoly. Those bigger drugstores, you say like hoard the drugs, and the smaller drugstore wasn't able to get none.
All right. Okay, sir.
So I don't know, something wrong there. People can't get basic things, now it's hard to get. I use the government like they spending the money to bring in drugs, and it's too slow. The process is taking too long. It's too much bottlenecks, too much. And that was affecting the poor LA people that can't get basic drugs that they're supposed to keep to keep them healthy. Okay, good, thanks.
Okay, caller. Are you all comfortable with what the minister said about the CDAP drugs? Are you all comfortable with what the minister said about the CDAP drugs? People are not getting the CDAP drugs. Are you comfortable with what the minister said? For those of you who are now joining in, good evening to those of you who are now joining me. But I'm asking a question about the CDAP drugs. Are you comfortable with what the minister had to say about the CDAP drugs? Are you comfortable? All right, I'm going to take some more. I see someone sent me a voice note. You can call on WhatsApp too, eh? The number to call on WhatsApp is the same number, 464-7003. 464-7003. I want to thank my brother, my little brother from Buffalo, for purchasing this headset mic for me, so that my hands are free, the screen is clear, it don't have any microphone blocking anything, you know. So I want to thank my little brother for purchasing this headset mic. I believe it's sounding good. I don't know, you all could tell me if you find it sounding clear, if it's sounding better than usual. You could tell me yes or no how the audio is sounding, if it's sounding good, if it's not sounding good. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Pastor Guru. No, I'm not comfortable with that explanation. These people had nothing good to say about NGRC. These people had nothing good to say about anybody who wasn't UNC. Now they are in power, and we having problems with CDAP. We had a pandemic, and we didn't have problems with distribution in CDAP. How is it now? We have a distribution problem. Why is it? Why is that? Why when the government in power that dissect everything and see how best they can make it serve them or the friends? Because there was a pandemic about 6 or 7 years ago, and we had no distribution problem with CDAP. So how come now, as you become the Minister of Health, we having issues? So I could never be comfortable with anything he say, because evidence showing that he have no idea what he's doing. Because they say that Mr. Diasing was not a doctor, he was a pharmacist. But at the end of the day, he didn't do this. He spent 5 years as Minister of Health, and we had no problem with that. How come you come a couple of months into this job and we are in problem. Again, I would stress there was a pandemic 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, and we had no powers. You see that? So how come you just got this job about what 50 months ago? It's so much, and we're having problems already. So I could never again. I would never be comfortable with anything you see. Yeah, I'll go on.
Okay, thank you very much, caller. Are you happy with Mr. Lakram Boudou, the Minister of Health, his explanation on the drugs? See that?
Pastor Google, good evening. I'm not sure what's going on with these people and them, because again, with respect to these CDAP drugs, where Mr. Bodo was saying, trying to give the impression all is above board. It was just probably about 3 weeks ago when we asked them what is the disposition where the passports are concerned, and Roger Alexander said that all is above board. Only to come and hear this evening that we are in a passport shortage, and he applied for more, and those people who have to get will have to wait approximately 3 months. Now they come on repeating the cycle now with respect to CDAP drugs. What's going on with these people? It was said by a former PNM leader, if they can lie in little things, they will obviously lie in big things, and we're seeing that playing off today. These people are incapable of speaking the truth.
All right, thank you very much, caller. So the caller is saying that, and yes, I saw it in the news where Mr. Alexander, the issue with the passports, Mr. Alexander is saying one thing, but in the media, there's another thing out there. There's another thing out there. So continue to take your calls. 464-7003. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good afternoon, Pastor Google.
Hi, good evening.
I've been calling you all the time on my other number, and I cannot get through at all. No answer.
I don't know.
When I call on this number, I get through.
I don't know why.
Just let me try it and see.
Okay. All right. Well, you are on now.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm not agree with what's going on at all. I'm not comfortable because why? I have family going to get drugs.
Oh. You can call me back. I don't know what happened there, caller. You got cut off. All right. You can call me back. All right. Remember, you can call me on 464-7003 on WhatsApp. Also, you can call me on regular calls. And that's the number that we used to call in. 464-7003. Are you comfortable? Are you happy with what the Minister of Health is saying when it comes to the CDAP drugs? Are you comfortable? Are you happy with what Mr. Lakram Boudou, the Minister of Health, is saying concerning the CDAP drugs? Because people are really wondering what is going on. People are wondering what is going on. As you heard in the report, people are saying, is it that people have to do a toss-up between drugs and food? Is it that people have to do a toss-up between drugs and food? So we need to find out from the authorities. You all need to bombard the airwaves. You all need to call radio stations and let them know. Because you're seeing it as blatant as day. What is going on? And you need to ask, you need to find out. Some of you need to call and ask. Because if you don't do it, they will think that everybody's happy and hunky-dory. Hello, good evening.
Hello, again, Pastor Google. Good night to all listeners and callers. Pastor Google, we need to do a commissioner of inquiry into the Ministry of Health, where the CDAP drugs and things is concerned. They have to have some kind of inquiry into that, because you can't tell me all the time before this government come in power. It had drugs to do on that TNN with this other health minister there. We never had no problem to get CDAP. We just get CDAP thing through this government come in power. It's shorter as well. Something had to be wrong. And you have to realize a lot of these may have a lot of these, like, Minister of Health that there is a family who are drugstores or no. I want to say so. I think it's some kind of conspiracy. Because you can't tell me, all right, when the last minister was the PNN, we used to get regular drugs coming in. People never used to have problems to get drugs, see that drug. All of a sudden now, with this new minister of health, elderly people, the basic health thing, they can't get to the doctor. And we know how the people in the ministry, those doctors operating in the ministry, is yes, we can complain with them, with drugs and things concerned. Last time there's something wrong, and they have to really investigate the ministry when the drug is concerned, and have a serious investigation into that, because it's very, very ridiculous now. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so I really just wanted to hear your view on the CDAP drugs issue. Do you think that do you accept what the minister is doing or what the minister is saying where CDAP drugs is concerned? Do you accept what he's saying? Do you think that it's a reasonable explanation? Colin, you need to hang up, please. All right, so you need to have is it that the minister is giving us a reasonable explanation on the CDAP drugs? Because I'm taking my time with this because you know, there are some persons messaging and talking about how the CDAP drugs. There's something somebody said to me just now. Let me see if I have it here. So someone was saying, good evening. The hospital pharmacy don't have heart med. Okay. And these are expensive and you don't have any choice but to buy them because you cannot do without them. Okay. So there's another person talking out, sending a message, letting me know that, hey, the pharmacy in the hospital don't have the drugs. The pharmacies in the hospital don't. Hello? 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 Okay, I don't know what's going on there with that caller. Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening, Pastor Google.
Hi, good evening.
Hi. Yeah, no. If this is what's going on with the shortages of drugs in this country, and the ministry has not given us some answers, God forbid that we have our next serious outbreak similar to COVID-19 or some other dangerous communicable disease. We think this country and this government will be ready for any pandemic in the future? In your humble opinion, Pastor Gould? That's something to think about. You have a good night.
Okay, thank you very much, caller.
Patients relying on the Chronic Disease Assistance Program, known as CDAP, continue to report difficulties accessing essential medication for diabetes, hypertension, and high cholesterol. While Health Minister Dr. Lakram Bodo says the issue is largely one of distribution and supply chain management, pharmacy associations say the problem runs deeper, with shortages affecting patients for months. The minister acknowledged that improving the availability of medicines remains one of the country's ministry's biggest challenges, alongside shortages of healthcare workers. But pharmacists on the front line say many commonly prescribed medications have been difficult to obtain since late last year.
You might have shortages here and there. There's always the opportunity in any particular RHA to try and source the drug if it's not available at one health center. Sometimes it's available at another health center. The pharmacists have been instructed, in fact, that if at their particular pharmacy there is a shortage of a particular drug, it is incumbent upon them to call around within the region and to find out, if it's available at another pharmacy. It might be a distribution issue, and it's really a supply chain issue as well.
The Association of Pharmacist-Owned Pharmacies says the situation is forcing many patients to purchase medication privately at a time when many households are already under financial strain. A second pharmacy body agrees distribution is only part of the problem. The Private Pharmacy Retail Business Association says delayed payments to pharmaceutical distributors have also disrupted supplies, although it believes the situation is beginning to improve following recent government payments and new CDAP tenders. The association expects some medications currently in short supply to return during the August supply cycle.
So again, you heard it. Are you comfortable with what you just heard from the Minister of Health? I just want to take some more calls on it. Are you comfortable? Just call in, yes or no. You can WhatsApp. You can send a WhatsApp voice note. But I want to hear from you. Are you comfortable with what you just heard from the Minister of Health? Are you comfortable with what you just heard from the Minister of Health? Somebody said no. Oh, somebody want to say no, good. Or they want to say not good enough, Mr. Minister. Do you think that it's good enough? Do you accept what the Minister of Health is saying to you? Minister of Health has given you an excuse. Do you accept that excuse? Do you think that excuse doesn't make sense? Do you want a proper explanation? Do you think that, because if I don't know, I am really taken aback. All right, I wouldn't. Okay, so somebody's saying that they believe that they're doing this to make the government look bad. All right, so somebody's saying that they believe that they're doing this to make the government look bad. All right, so the pharmacies and the pharmacists and they are doing this to make the government look bad. Do you agree with that? Do you think that is true? All right, so somebody is saying on our YouTube live that I wouldn't doubt that the health centers are doing this to make the government look bad. But it's not the health centers though. Texter or Messenger, it's not the health centers. When you listen to the video or the news is saying that it is pharmacies that are saying that we don't have CDAP drugs, and the minister didn't address the pharmacies. The minister addressed the health centers. All right, not the health centers, sorry, the hospitals, and some of the health centers that would that would have done X, Y, and Z. So I am asking, I am asking, do you? Because so somebody's saying that they don't believe that. They believe that it is sabotage. All right? They believe that, somebody in the health centers are sabotaging the sabotaging. So let's take some of your calls. Hello, good evening, caller.
Good night.
Hi, good evening, sir.
I listened to you with this issue with the CDAP and everything else.
Yeah.
I'll shine a little light on it.
Okay.
And I'm running a little light because I have a very good friend who had experienced a heart attack about 2.5 years ago and was in hospital, and I'm aware of the procedure. You went through the hospital, you got treated, you got discharged, and you were told to enroll in a clinic. You enroll in a clinic. Through the clinic, you get a prescription to get your medication, basically free from the state. What happens? You go to, in the case of the pharmacies, you register with CDAP in the pharmacies, and the pharmacy gets medication from the state. What basically my friend has been saying is that is a situation where if the state does not pay the supplier no longer sends CDAP medication out to the various pharmacies. It's about money. All right. I imagine that the supplier has to pay an external person who is dealing with drugs coming in, because you have had situations where I like I said, I can tell you this because I actually took the person to the pharmacy one day to get meds, and the drugstore telling you, well, we could sell you the drugs because their supply of drugs that they have paid for, they have. But the CDAP drugs have not been delivered. So the drugs run out. It is not a matter that there are not drugs in the country. It is about the state paying suppliers on time so that the suppliers would in turn distribute the drugs to the health centers and the outpatient facilities where the drugs could be, acquired, where you're running into problems. If the suppliers are not paid, drugs are not delivered. And this is what you find going on. The people who own the pharmacies are paid the suppliers for the very same drugs that they would have had through the government service to give for free, because what they are doing is helping the government distribute the drugs that would have been prescribed to people who went through the government health service, which would be like the hospitals and everything else. But if the government does not pay the suppliers, then the suppliers don't distribute, and then the drugstores don't have drugs to give for free. But their supply that they paid the suppliers for, they then have that to sell. And for those who have the money, who could afford to pay for the drugs, you pay for your drugs. But other than that, it's a toss-up with what is going on. And from what my friend has been telling me, certain, like I said, is a heart attack, certain heart meds, certain cholesterol meds, they have not been able to get for the last couple of months. He has had to be buying his drugs. And that's just how the system is.
And that's why I said, and you heard it in the newscast, that it's a toss-up between food and medication.
Well, the sad thing is that you continue to see expenditure increasing, and these were some of the things that we were told about with the, when the budget starts to go up and you have an increasing expenditure coming up, that we're gonna get to a place where it's a matter of making decisions then. I think a lot of people are unaware, and I heard what you said about your friend who only votes in certain things. You can't wait until something bothers you. It may not bother you directly, but it may bother somebody in your family. It may bother a schoolhood friend of yours who is now in a jam. The old people used to tell you, when your neighbor house on fire with yours, it may never impact on you. But the other side of it is that it might. And if you sitting there waiting, thinking it wouldn't happen to you, and then it does happen to you, what happens then? We have to become coherent about a lot of things taking place.
And how do we get people to be coherent about a lot of things, because when you let me tell you this, and that's how selfish the world has become, because when you sit down in taxis and I remember working at a radio station, and you would hear people who on air and off air saying, I don't really care what the politics is, because I still have to get up in the morning and go and work. Some people used to say, but what they're doing for me personally, and people have taken the politics very personal, right? I'll draw an example to you. You're seeing now where Mr. Philip Alexander is going up in these black communities where you have people living, and the reality of it is, and we ask why people didn't come out and vote, but you know what? When you look at what's happening in those areas that Philip is going into, so he went into an area in Port of Spain there, and the people have been saying for years we have been asking for the pump to fix. For years we have been asking, when I flush my toilet, my sewage going over into my neighbor toilet. When my neighbor flush his toilet, the sewage coming over into my toilet. You can't tell me I'm going into the toilet to use the toilet and have to go to umbrella because the water from my neighbor upstairs coming down on me. And now you have a minister. Now you have a minister who is going into these communities and telling them and working with the engineers for HGC and letting the engineers know, well, look at what these people going through. I want this resolved now.
Yeah, but Pastor Google, the other side of that too is, what was the engineer doing in the last 5 years, 10 years in the job?
The engineer, and you know what? The reality of it, and I just want to say this to you, while I hear you with that, you know what it is too, is that the engineer would say, or let's say the engineer, all right, so let's say the councillor for the area. Let's say I'm the councillor for the area, and I go into Orchid Gardens where I live, and I'm seeing all the issues, and I'm writing to HGC, and I'm saying to HGC, look, I have two neighbors here having sewer issues. Could you all come and address it, please? Could you all come and address it, please? You keep begging them, you keep asking them, and they never come. But you have a minister now who is in your face, who is demanding from you that you deal with issues like this. And listen now, the minister tell them, look, it have abandoned people, it have homeless people living in this abandoned HGC office here. Take out the windows. I don't want them inside of here.
Make it uninhabitable.
The same day. But when you talk to the councillor will tell you, Google, I have been writing to HGC. Look all my letters here.
And you know what I would say to that, Pastor Google? I would go back to the governance of the country by the NAR. Remember the NAR had a catchphrase, know your MP, write your MP, embarrass him into action. This is what was needed since then. The thing about it is our problem, and it's a big problem across the board in a lot of areas in the country, has always been maintenance. Look, we had a situation with a number of blackouts over the last 2 days in the country. And the Minister of Public Utilities was on the news tonight, or there was a report on the news tonight, and the minister telling you, well, it was a problem with maintenance of a plant somewhere in the industrial estate in Couva, I think is where it was. And the question is, but somebody was getting paid in TNTech to ensure that these things would have been maintained. There is a maintenance. There ought to, at least I would like to think, that within these organizations, there are maintenance plans that would be taking place. Somewhere I was going in the last couple of days, and I am seeing heavy material moving, and I am saying, why is it that they are not police outriders with these trucks carrying these huge pieces of equipment? you know, and the ball is being dropped in many different areas in many different ways. We could say mismanagement is being remanifested, but it is what it is, and I am simply saying that even with what Mr. Alexander is doing, there is a scary kickback that could come there. And the Jason X guy made a video on it. He went around in Belmont, and Belmont is an area that I traverse ever so often. And yes, there are a lot of cleanup areas need to be attended to and everything else. But if you understand the lifestyle of people who are struggling, and you may know it in your own area, maybe it happens. I know in some HTC areas, they try to create mini malls for people to open little businesses and things, but some people operate out of their shops, out of their place of residence. It used to happen in Trinity. People used to open a little parlor in the garage and everything else. So tight was the flow of money then that it was an effort to try to make ends meet.
But you know,
buy a little something,
but you know
you
when you
sell it.
sign, but you know when you signed your contract or your lease or your agreement with HDC,
You're not supposed to.
You're not supposed to do that.
I understand that, but circumstances change too, Pastor Google.
Yeah, but
some people have gotten reduction in pay.
Yeah,
and it is a matter.
But the reality of it is that while you might be saying that, and I understand what you're saying, you still have to remember that you're not living by yourself. You're not living in you are a part of the community, and when you do it, and the other neighbors start to do it, and everybody, so you selling snacks, pillory, conkers, whatever, and next neighbor say, okay, well, if you could sell snacks, pillory, and all those different mini items, I go and start to do burgers and fries and wings, right. And then our next neighbor decide
somebody selling alcohol,
and next neighbor and next neighbor decide he could and sell coconut water, and he could and cut up coconut and leave all the coconut shells there, which encourage rat, and so there is a trickle down effect to things like that. Look like in my community, it have a man who when he fix his vehicles, he leave all the old oil and all the parts for the vehicle behind the house, which encourage rat, right? And which encourage snake.
Yeah.
The other day he make Facebook. He was on Facebook with Hunt and Rescue. Hunt and Rescue came into his house and collect about 6 big snake.
Wow. You see, and you see again, Pastor Google, the other side to those things is that you also have to work with how do you address social issues. Poverty and crime, for the greater part, are tied to social issues within a sector of the society. Our social services are in a mess. I can tell you, I did voluntary work for the better part of 13 years. All right. And one of the reasons I started to back off was it was mental strain in dealing with the thing because of how intense it became. And the fact that in my case, I wasn't even being paid. I was a volunteer. But you start to get so attached to the thing because you are so enthusiastic to try and make the impact for the thing to get better that sometimes these things make you sick. What I'm saying is our social services are in a mess. There is a lack of sympathy and empathy in dealing with the people who are displaced. You heard it in the news tonight about some pizza man daughter who is under PDO and can't get, the proper medical attention. You had that situation, even with those people that Mr. Alexander wanted out and everything else. There's a reason people end up in these places. People don't become addicted to drugs just like that. And all these things are things that are social issues that impact on the society differently.
But I understand what you're saying. I totally agree with what you're saying. But hear what hear what we started on this program, right? We started on this program a discussion or a constructive discussion where when we identify an issue, we try to find a solution to it so that when we get the opposition leader in a interview, we can present to her a solutions to issues that we are seeing reoccurring all the time and reoccurring the symbol all the time. You understand? So while I hear you and I understand what you're saying, I lived in London, in the UK. I lived here are the areas I lived. I lived Plumstead. I lived Selhurst, which is Thornton Heath, and I lived West Croydon. Right?
Okay.
Those areas, you cannot, in those areas, if you decide to put a mini shop as an extension to your home, you have to write to the council. The council will then come, see what you want to do, and then give you the permission to do it. Right? And based on what you have been seeing and what you said earlier on about people losing their jobs, people losing income, then we need to have HDC reassess the agreement and the arrangements that they're making with people so that persons would not be in a embarrassing position where government change, and now you have Philip Alexander coming into a community and telling persons you had to shut down this shop, you had to move from here, you had to do this because you're breaching the contract that you have signed with HDC.
Now, you remember in the past, Pastor Google, I have spoken to you and I have always emphasized the point about personal mental maturity and personal mental political maturity. This is the side of the story that I draw reference to when I use those expressions, because I have always maintained that the biggest problem we have in the Republic of Trinidad is what I call tattitude. We have a tattery attitude. We have a problem with talking down to people as though everybody's stupid and you are not valuable. Valentino told us in Calypso since the 70s, life is a stage where the actors, everybody has a part to play. The point I would like to get across to my people in this beloved Twin Island state of mine, because I like Harvey Boris and I tell people this, I want to borrow his line, and if I had to pay for it, I had to pay for it, but I love my country. I feel Trinidad is the best place on earth to live. But we have some problems, and it needs to start with us bringing a level of empathy to the table, because the reality is that there will always be divisions in our society. When I was in my early 20s, my father used to tell me, boy, read the Desiderata, memorize the Desiderata. That's like a second Bible. And I tell people, I remember one day he came home and he was giving me a talk because I was washing my car and jamming music in my car. And he come tell me about if I feel everybody want to hear the banga banga music that I play in there, that is noise. And I had to tell him, I said, Daddy, remember you tell me about the Desiderata? I have a couple lines about 3/4 way down that tells us, if we compare ourselves to others, we shall become vain and bitter. For always in life, there shall be greater and lesser persons than ourselves. Rashoti I told us in song, and he quoted the piece of scripture, if my people who are of my name shall do what? Humble themselves and pray. The first thing that God asks us to do, we can't even do, which is to humble ourselves. We have a mentality that if he's a garbage man, well, I better than him, he's a garbage man. But if the garbage man does not work, what are we living in? Squalor and filth, disease. And yet still we don't understand the value of these people. We need to change our attitude and embrace everybody in the country, regardless of whether you are captain or cook. Everybody is valuable. Everybody is needed at a point in time. If the ambulance drivers decide not to go to work a day, for one day, woe be unto us in this country, we will bawl. We have to change our attitude. And it starts with respecting people, regardless of who they are, where they come from, what is their status in the society. Let us start to talk to one another. I listened to the opposition leader today, and she talked about bringing harmony and a peace and an understanding to the table and everything else. The sad thing about a lot of the tension in the country that people are dealing with right now is that we paying attention to one part of something, and we're not understanding what the old people used to tell us, that for every action there's an opposite and equal reaction. People will say something. I spoke to you some time ago and I told you I didn't want to talk about the R word, but you're playing Elon Francis' song when he sang in the Marsh Gras, and he used the word. Star Sabga used the word. That does not carry us anywhere, but it is a reality, because historically, if you look at countries in the world where the people were disgruntled, that is what came about. The Cambule riots was part of all of that. But we don't necessarily need to stoop to that to make a point. That's not necessary in the world today. That's not necessary in our society, at least. We are supposed to be able to be a civil people, and let us sit down and discuss our differences. And as you rightfully say, let us see how we could find the common ground so that the majority will end up in a good place, in a better place. But to say that you come in to fight and battle a man and pull down a man and try and make a man feel like he's... how many people in Schafford Court must use that same mechanic man to get things on the car fixed?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Up to today, I was telling my friend that. Up to today, I was telling them at a workplace that I told them, I said, all this saying all of that. I said, but what's unfair about this whole thing is that you all are saying that Philip is doing the right thing by expansion. I said, but the people who told Philip about him, I'm sure half of those people were using that gentleman.
There you go. And it was highlighted. I think it was by the same Jason, where he made the point that all who hustling a little cigarette, a little dinnerment, a little everything else out of your apartment to make your ends meet, they might be coming for you next. Who is to say that it may not be? I hear the point that it is not the manner in which things were set up, and I understand that. But then we need to also look at how do we put other measures in place to deal with things. There was a promise for CPEP people that grants would have been provided. Have grants been provided? We hear nothing about it. In fact, what I hear more of is people crying every month that they getting paid late. But this is the country. This is where we are. Decisions were made, and we have to live with decisions that were made. I am simply saying, for the sake of country, love of country, let us as big people sit down and have a conversation. Firstly, with respect for those who will come and speak. And secondly, as you rightfully say, let us trash out the ideas as to how we can go forward. The division is doing nothing for the sake of the country, nothing for the sake of the economy. It might paint even a worse picture to the world. But what are going to do business for, boy? Them people and them like they're barbaric. They inhumane. What are going there for? I could go somewhere else and invest my money and probably get the same return. You have to set the table so that the thing will end up positively. When I was a young fellow growing up past Google, I'll leave this as my last point because I'm sure there are plenty of people who want to call it. My last point. The elder guys who were the batch of children, maybe 1 or 2 before my batch. So these guys would have easily been between 7 and 10 years my senior. They had a saying on the block, man does track woman, but woman does pick the man. Don't feel you go get through with everything that you want. Those same fellas had a saying to my batch of children, are thirsty but I ain't dying. You will want things in life, but you have to have a standard that you ain't going to cross that line to get what it is you want, because you know in crossing that line, you're going over to the side of not being righteous. We had to start being righteous in this country. We had to bring love to the table. We have to bring reason. We have to bring understanding. And we have to do it quickly. Because again, as the older fellas used to say, time waits for no one. I would leave it there. I'll lock on and listening. Praise and thanks to you. We will work out something this coming month with your book business and everything else. I'll be in touch with you.
Thank you very much, sir.
You are more than welcome, my brother.
Right.
God bless.
Same to you.
Okay.
All right. So I wanted to play one more clip before I I want to play this clip for you guys. I want you all to listen to this clip very carefully. And when you listen to it, I want you to tell me what are your thoughts about it. This clip is touching on the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. And it also talks about the shutting down of the solar panels. I want you to listen carefully to this clip, and then I'll take some calls and hear from you. Take a listen to this clip.
Former Finance Minister Com Imbert warns this country is at risk of a credit rating downgrade, while also accusing the government of mishandling the economy and creating confusion over pension tax exemption.
Meanwhile, the future of Trinidad and Tobago's largest solar project is under fresh scrutiny tonight after government confirmed the facility is no longer supplying electricity to the grid. Andrea Perez-Sobas has more in tonight's Business Watch.
Former Finance Minister Com Imbert says the government is painting an inaccurate picture of Trinidad and Tobago's economic position following the latest assessment by Standard & Poor's. Speaking at the opposition's conference on Wednesday, Imbert outlines while the country retained its investment grade BBB- rating, the agency's negative outlook should not be ignored. He argues that the report warns of a 1 in 3 chance of a downgrade over the next year, unless the government strengthens public finances, support long-term economic growth, and protects the country's external position.
So I am urging everyone, grow a backbone, grow a conscience, do honest analysis. Let the country know what is really going on with our economy, because we are not in a good place.
Imbert also turned his attention to the ongoing dispute over the taxation of corporate pension plans. The issue surfaced after insurance companies continued deducting tax from some corporate deferred annuity pension payments, despite government's announcement that private pension plans would be tax exempt.
The law makes it clear that these plans have to be purchased by the individuals and not the company. That's just another example of his incompetence. It's the same thing we experienced with the landlord tax, where he sent out a press release to say that the landlord tax would be subject of a tax credit. Not true.
Turning to other business news, Public Utilities Minister Barry Padarath says the Bachin Castle solar farm is no longer producing electricity months after TNTech stopped taking power from the facility. The minister says the plant was disconnected from the grid at the end of January this year and blamed shortcomings during the project's development under the previous administration.
The lack of vision, due diligence from the former administration did not provide for a cost-benefit analysis in terms of how it would impact on the operational cost of TNTech. And therefore, right now it is in review between parties, and more will be said about this in its later, in the later stages.
The Brechin Castle Solar Farm, located in Kuvatal, Paro, is the country's first utility-scale solar facility and is owned by Shell, BPTT, and the National Gas Company. Read more in tomorrow's Business Guardian.
What's your thoughts? 464-7003, 464-7003. So you heard what Mr. Imbert had to say about our economy. Build a backbone, speak the truth. Tell the people the truth. And what's happening with our economy. So you heard Mr. Imbert. But you also heard about the solar plants. You also heard about the solar plants. It's interesting, eh? Electricity going. I heard people in the East-West Corridor, Rio Claro, different parts of Trinidad and Tobago were affected by outage. I just hope that it has nothing to do with those solar plants that they closed down. Just hope so. So taking your calls, 464-7003. 464-7003. At the time now, it's 10:24. So taking your calls, listening to your what is your view on the issues that are brought to hand. While I wait for your call, I'm still watching and waiting. Mr. David Lee, Minister of Housing, still haven't come to Trinidad and Tobago and tell us why OBR would have flagged the 34 billion. We haven't heard why. We don't know why. We would want to know why, but we haven't heard why. Hello, good evening.
Sure.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Pastor.
Good evening, sir.
I seem to recall that when that solar panel park was activated by MP Young, then we were told that they would have the way of, how to call it, taking pressure off of the grid and transferring power into industry. That was the idea behind it. So that you have more for domestic use and so on. Here we have MOUs to set up data centers. So in my way of thinking, if something is there already connected to the grid and is power generating by how to put it, green means, right? The environment. Wouldn't it be better to power said data centers if you want to establish them with the power coming from that? Because that power is instant. The sunlight and the way solar power works is that you're able to store power to use during the nighttime hours, but during the day, it would be in use, right? So to hear the minister say that because of the arrangements, and you hear what I'm saying, right? And they show how we have to get behind the lies that these people tell. If something is owned jointly by the major oil energy companies here, you feel the oil companies would go into an arrangement with the government where it would not have proper arrangements and so on with respect to long-term viability of the project? By the lies these people keep telling, right? And as for what Mr. Imbut said, I'm so glad he said that. So people like Professor Hussein and other economists like Sajju and Ali and Indira Rampasad and so on, they would grow some spine
and tell the truth. Right? The economy can't be in a good place. Only 0.8% growth last year, and several multinationals looking to go and all that, and be saying that the economy in recovery. Give us a break now. They're talking about the steel plant coming back on stream. I think part of the reason why the steel plant was not profitable for Scott and then the forerunner Arcelor, the successor company ArcelorMittal, is because of one thing, you have to import the iron ore to make steel products. What they say, I hear them say they're going to use scrap metal. We don't produce enough scrap metal to be able to use in a steel plant. And here what happening? Because of what happened with steel products when they come down to the end user, you had to do certain things to make it be able to be processed and so on. If it coated with certain materials, enamel and other things, you had to first treat it before you could use it. Huh? This scrap iron dealers telling you don't have enough material for them to export. Where we get enough material to run the plant if we're not importing iron billets or iron ore billets to process into steel products? Come on, let me get real now, man. Let me get real. Right? And I want to go back to the other thing with Philip Alexander, right? And that whole Papi Show thing with Shafford Court and all that kind of thing. Pastor, and people who want to play that don't know, AGC have been going by those places all the time. It's a reason why close to Shafford Court they have a IATF base. And you know what that base is there for? That base is to go, so when the AGC officials were going to deal with clients there who were not paying rent and had to get evicted, that will go with police. That's the fact. To serve them and to get them out. The minister going, but he going police, but here we going with plain clothes, special branch police. Again, all theatrics. And all the AGC areas in East Port of Spain and so on, the AGC officials had to go with police. By the facts. And I can tell you that. In the construction along Alturas, that was a 24-hour extra duty comprised of police officers from Garden Emergency and IATF to protect the workers who were working on site. Because disgruntled residents were threatening the workers and saying they're bringing people from outside to work on the buildings. A minister going and doing what Alexander doing is micromanaging. That is not a minister work. Officials in the AGC have to do what they need to do. But you know what happening? A set of people were hired from these communities, and when they're going to try to do the work, they will be threatened. That is why things can't get done. That's the facts. And when other officials from the admin try to move them, the same press and opposition was going and say, look, oh gosh, they're advantaging poor people. They want to put them out. The same media going to interview them. And they're saying the reason why we're in pain is because of the same issues that were highlighted about the sewer problems and all of that. Who are the contractors who building these buildings? Some of the same people who bidding for contracts now in the government housing program, who did shoddy work and it had no way to get back at them except through the civil procedure. And who controls that? I'm not admiring no micromanaging minister. People empowered, public servants empowered to deal with these things have to deal with these things. That is the facts. Because when you see them go before the joint select committees in Parliament and they're talking, and you hear them saying that. Whether it's permanent secretary or deputy permanent secretaries. Yes, well, we've sent correspondence. This is a matter for the police. We have informed the police. And I said a buck passing. So that's a papi show mama guy by Alexander impressing me, especially as a minister who nobody voted for, who was appointed according to the Prime Minister. She talk about appointed independent senators, but she appointed people who nobody voted for, who lost the deposit. So he had no currency with me, except to eat our food, to keep him happy by the Prime Minister. That what is our Prime Minister about now? Nothing to do with betterment at the ministry, the housing ministry or the AGC. Board loyalty. That's what that is about.
All right.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much, caller. Thank you very, very much. All right, so I continue to take your calls on 464-7003, 464-7003. So the caller is saying, hey, see what's going on there? Games are being played. Games are being played. So I'm taking your calls, 464-7003. 464-7003. So I just played you a clip from the news concerning our finances as a nation.
A former finance minister, Com Imbert, warns this country is at risk of a credit rating downgrade, while also accusing the government of mishandling the economy and creating confusion over pension tax exemption.
Meanwhile, the future of Trinidad and Tobago's largest solar project is under fresh scrutiny tonight after government confirmed the facility is no longer supplying electricity to the grid. Andrea Perez-Sobas has more in tonight's Business Watch.
Former Finance Minister Com Imbert says the government is painting an inaccurate picture of Trinidad and Tobago's economic position following the latest assessment by Standard & Poor's. Speaking at the opposition's conference on Wednesday, Imbert outlines while the country retained its investment grade BBB- rating, the agency's negative outlook should not be ignored. He argues that the report warns of a 1 in 3 chance of a downgrade over the next year unless the government strengthens public finances, support long-term economic growth, and protects the country's external position.
So I am urging everyone, grow a backbone, grow a conscience, do honest analysis. Let the country know what is really going on with our economy, because we are not in a good place.
Imbert also turned his attention to the ongoing dispute over the taxation of corporate pension plans. The issue surfaced after insurance companies continued deducting tax from some corporate deferred annuity pension payments, despite government's announcement that private pension plans would be tax exempt.
The law makes it clear that these plans have to be purchased by the individuals and not the company. That's just another example of his incompetence. It's the same thing we experienced with the landlord tax, where he sent out a press release to say that the landlord tax would be subject of a tax credit. Not true.
Turning to other business news, Public Utilities Minister Barry Padarath says the Brechin Castle solar farm is no longer producing electricity months after TNTEC stopped taking power from the facility. The minister says the plant was disconnected from the grid at the end of January this year and blamed shortcomings during the project's development under the previous administration.
The lack of vision, due diligence from the former administration did not provide for a cost-benefit analysis in terms of how it would impact on the operational cost of TNTEC. And therefore, right now it is in review between parties, and more will be said about this in the later stages.
The Brechin Castle solar farm, located in Kuvatal Paro, is the country's first utility-scale solar facility and is owned by Shell, BPTT, and the National Gas Company. Read more in tomorrow's Business Guardian.
All right, so numbers to call is 464-7003, 003. What is your thoughts on what you just heard? What's your thoughts on it? Taking your calls. Hello, good evening.
Good afternoon, Pastor.
Good evening, sir.
Good Pastor.
Yes, sir.
When these economists come on talking about the economy in a good place and there's growth and there's not more, but I always ask you, what country these people living in? I always ask that because what them saying and what we're experiencing out there, the reality is different. So I try to ask you, I also try to understand, which I always ask, is there two different Trinidad operating in a parallel space? Because what they're experiencing and what they're saying is clearly not what has happened out here. Has happened out here. Because about a month ago, or like about 6 weeks ago, I see a man. I think he's a youth professor, and he's some economist. I think he's a teacher that anyway. And he comes and say, there's nothing wrong with the economy, and there's growth. And we are, and because no, we feel good. Because how could it be possible? How is it possible? It has growth in our economy and energy plants reason. So what he talking about and the reality is not the same. Because if there is growth in our country, investors will not be leaving the country. So I don't understand what. So whenever people like them talk, I just try to understand what Trinidad that them talking about. Because can I be the one with in every month? Pastor?
Hello?
Yeah, hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, I said what I said.
Mm-hmm.
So to hear Mr. Rambo come on and talk this and tell themselves grow a spine and stop wrong-moving the government. Grow a spine and stop wrong-moving the government and talk the truth. Stop lying because pretty soon you will not be able to lie anymore. And as for Mr. Padhat and all the other MPs, I have a problem. My problem is, don't come to me and tell me nothing but last administration. You sat there for 10 years. Bad talk, sabotage, manipulate, run investors, do everything in your power to hold progress. To hold progress. Now you get in power. Don't come to tell me about the last man do. We don't want to hear the last one. The last one was fired. So don't come to tell me because I have an issue with that. And don't use that as a jail card. If you don't know what you're doing, say you don't know what you're doing. If you're a crew or you're out there, just say out there. But don't come to tell me about your last administration. I ain't buying that. That cannot be. You get a jail card, and that's the card all I'm using. Every one of them. And it's time people tell them the BS done. Because nobody, according to Sunday, people say the amount of people lost their spine. But you can't come, minister after minister, to tell me about your last administration. I am buying that. I seriously am buying that. And that will all of them using every time they find themselves in a jam or they can't explain themselves or they can't. They can't admit the fact that they have no idea and they cry out of that. The next thing, they give a jail card is the previous administration. I don't want to hear that. I really don't hear that. Because you get a job. You battle it's like I have a car fixing. You battle this mechanic right through. See, I'm not going to say, I finally signed the mechanic. And hire you. What you telling me about last month for? I fire here and hire you. I don't want to hear that. Anyway, let me say, but I totally agree with my friend this. Stop lying. Because pretty soon, you will not be able to lie. Because, like I say, there's no way in an economy that is growing. Companies leaving. Multinational companies, and they're living with travel first we need. I don't know. So, like I said, when people speak about growth and the national with the economy and the same progress, I want to know, is there a parallel to Trinidad operating in a parallel space? Because can't be Trinidad, I wake up in every morning. It can't be that. And like I said before I go, I am not buying when minister after minister come on to about the life administration. That level you can go on. Me now, anyhow. Minister space. Lots of listening.
At Brechin Castle in Couva, a groundbreaking energy transformation is underway. On Thursday, July 17th, the Brechin Castle Solar Limited joint venture, led by BP, Shell, and the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago, successfully transmitted its first electrons into the TNTEC grid, marking the start of operations for Trinidad and Tobago's largest solar installation. The solar farm is owned by Brechin Castle Solar Limited, with BP and Shell each holding 35% and NGC owning the remaining 30%. Currently, only the southern segment is active, delivering up to 40 megawatts to the grid. Mechanical works continue on the northern portion, with full commissioning on track for the fourth quarter of 2025. Once complete, the 92-megawatt facility will supply roughly 8% of the country's electricity needs, enough to power some 31,500 homes with clean energy. Not only does this help diversify Trinidad and Tobago's energy mix, but it also frees up natural gas for downstream industries while significantly reducing carbon emissions. The Energy Chamber notes the project is expected to avoid approximately 123,000 tons of CO2 emissions annually, the equivalent of removing over 26,000 cars from the nation's roads. Brechin Castle Solar isn't just the largest solar farm in Trinidad and Tobago, it's now the largest in the entire Caribbean. The project is expected to be fully operational by late 2025 and stands as a key milestone in the country's journey to meet its 2030 Paris Agreement emissions targets.
Why are you boy? What? Trinidad and Tobago, how are you feeling now that you all hear that? How are you thinking? What is all your fear? What is all your feeling about it now? What is your feeling about this what's all your vibes? What's all your feeling about it now? I am sorry, but at the end of the day, Trinidad and Tobago, this is are we going to allow this to happen? Are we, and that's my question to all of you now who are listening. Are you all going to allow this to happen? Are we going to allow this to happen? You heard the report you heard the report. What is your thoughts? 464-7003. 464-7003. What is your thoughts? I'll play it again. I want to play it over. You all think I should play it over? You all think I should play it over? I'm just asking. Do you all think I should play it over? Yes or no? For those of you who, joining, do you think that I should play it over, or do you think that, you're good with what you heard. And if you're hearing noise, that's rain falling outside. Heavy showers of rain is falling. What are your thoughts about the solar panel? What are your thoughts? You hear the minister say? You heard what the minister say? Huh? Wow, that rain is falling very hard outside. Did you all hear what the minister had to say? You all heard what Minister Barry Pallarat had to say? I really hope and pray, Trinidad and Tobago, I really hope and pray that somebody says something about this. I really hope and pray that somebody comes out of their shell, comes out of their woodwork, and say something about this. Because this is not normal. It's not normal. Right? This is not normal. What this government is doing, what we are hearing, what we're seeing, this could never be right. Could never ever be right. Listen to it again.
At Brechin Castle in Couva, a groundbreaking energy transformation is underway. On Thursday, July 17th, the Brechin Castle Solar Limited joint venture, led by BP, Shell, and the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago, successfully transmitted its first electrons into the TNTEC grid, marking the start of operations for Trinidad and Tobago's largest solar installation. The solar farm is owned by Brechin Castle Solar Limited, with BP and Shell each holding 35% and NGC owning the remaining 30%. Currently, only the southern segment is active, delivering up to 40 megawatts to the grid. Mechanical works continue on the northern portion, with full commissioning on track for the fourth quarter of 2025. Once complete, the 92-megawatt facility will supply roughly 8% of the country's electricity needs, enough to power some 31,500 homes with clean energy. Not only does this help diversify Trinidad and Tobago's energy mix, but it also frees up natural gas for downstream industries while significantly reducing carbon emissions. The Energy Chamber notes the project is expected to avoid approximately 123,000 tons of CO2 emissions annually, the equivalent of removing over 26,000 cars from the nation's roads. Brechin Castle Solar isn't just the largest solar farm in Trinidad and Tobago, it's now the largest in the entire Caribbean. The project is expected to be fully operational by late 2025 and stands as a key milestone in the country's journey to meet its 2030 Paris Agreement emissions targets.
Former Finance Minister Com Imbert warns this country is at risk of a credit rating downgrade, while also accusing the government of mishandling the economy and creating confusion over pension tax exemption.
Meanwhile, the future of Trinidad and Tobago's largest solar project is under fresh scrutiny tonight after government confirmed the facility is no longer supplying electricity to the grid. Andrea Perez-Sobers has more in tonight's Business Watch.
Former Finance Minister Com Imbert says the government is painting an inaccurate picture of Trinidad and Tobago's economic position following the latest assessment by Standard & Poor's. Speaking at the opposition's conference on Wednesday, Imbert outlines while the country retained its investment grade BBB- rating, the agency's negative outlook should not be ignored. He argues that the report warns of a 1 in 3 chance of a downgrade over the next year, unless the government strengthens public finances, support long-term economic growth, and protects the country's external position.
So I am urging everyone, grow a backbone, grow a conscience, Do honest analysis. Let the country know what is really going on with our economy, because we are not in a good place.
Imbert also turned his attention to the ongoing dispute over the taxation of corporate pension plans. The issue surfaced after insurance companies continued deducting tax from some corporate deferred annuity pension payments, despite government's announcement that private pension plans would be tax exempt.
The law makes it clear that these plans have to be purchased by the individuals and not the company. That's just another example of his incompetence. It's the same thing we experienced with the landlord tax, where he sent out a press release to say that the landlord tax would be subject of a tax credit. Not true.
Turning to other business news, Public Utilities Minister Barry Padarath says the Brechin Castle solar farm is no longer producing electricity months after TNTech stopped taking power from the facility. The minister says the plant was disconnected from the grid at the end of January this year and blamed shortcomings during the project's development under the previous administration.
The lack of vision, due diligence from the former administration did not provide for a cost-benefit analysis in terms of how it would impact on the operational cost of TNTech, and therefore right now it is in review between parties, and more will be said about this in the later stages.
The Brechin Castle solar farm, located in Kuvatalparo, is the country's first utility-scale solar facility and is owned by Shell, BPTT, and the National Gas Company. Read more in tomorrow's business.
All right, so I'm taking your calls on this issue. What are your thoughts on it? 464-7003. 464-7003. All right. I'll just take a few more calls on this issue. So I played the both clips to you. So you heard. You really think? I hear the minister talk about vision, but you think Shell and BP will invest into something that have no vision? Really, Minister? When you listen to it, I don't know. Hello, good evening.
Pastor, let me see us on really, right?
I am serious on. But I am serious on. I am serious on real. Why?
I know you're serious on real, but what I say, right? You do the nation. Let seriously investigate these people. Before this man get this post as Minister of Public Utilities, what was his profession? What did he run? What did he do successfully? Apart from Canada. We do. Take care of this because this is an important post. What he do to get his post? What he run successfully? What he do? How much degree do you have in anything? You try to say you give a man a big post like that. What he run before that? Like real.
I don't know. You know what he did before he became the Minister of Public Utilities?
I have no idea.
Well, I thought you knew. Honestly, I really thought you knew. That's why
I have no idea. Apart from carrying some bags.
Well, okay, but I thought that you really knew what his position was before.
I don't.
You don't have an idea. You don't have an idea of what he has. He has degrees and stuff like that. What does he have a degree in?
I don't know. I never really make the individual.
So you don't know. You really don't know his qualifications.
No, I don't know anything about the individual.
Okay, I'm just asking it. You don't.
I'm very sorry. No, I'm being real. I do not know anything about the individual.
I never said you're not being real, so I just asked.
No, listen. No. I was trying to.
Well,
I just trying to understand. Hello?
You hearing me? You not hearing me?
I hear let go ahead.
Okay, no. Just now I thought. Well, I hear you say hello now, so I thought you wasn't hearing me. Hello.
Okay.
No. I just wanted to know if you knew what was his qualifications.
No, I didn't know. I have no idea what this man did before he became the Minister of Public Utilities.
Okay,
I know back in our
2015 when Prime Minister when I wonder the last time she Prime Minister and he was a part of she handling he I used to say he around she carrying parenting but I never made it to be the next thing you know the man.
But I think we have to. I think it's either we have to wait until he goes into the parliament, or you're not hearing me.
I see. All is you think we have to wait on the what?
I think we have to wait until he goes into the parliament for us to understand, to be questioned on how or why they would have taken the position of closing down, or if you don't have to wait, if you could get answers, if the media could press him for some more answers, because when you listen to what the report and that news TTT news report said, clearly that solar panel plant is very, 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 very important. It is part of what you would call they always say that we need to diversify the economy, but I think that is part of it.
And it will free up gas for other places.
Right, but let me ask you something. Do you believe, or we seeing where there are times when electricity going all over Trinidad and Tobago? Do you feel that it is because of the shutting down of that solar panel that may have had that may cause this disruption?
Possible, yes.
Okay. All right, Colin, thank you very much.
But I am saying before I go, that is, you cannot tell me you are a responsible individual. When you listen to the report on that project, and you telling me you closing on that, you are highly irresponsible, or you're highly out of your depth. Because so that I came to the conclusion to find what this man used to do before he get his post and why he get his post. What did you run successfully before you get his post? So he just wake up one morning and he get that. There is no sort of public utility now.
Well, as I said before, let's wait and see, sir.
Which media hall go and proceed? All of me was afraid. The only person who was being pressing issues besides you is who? Sir?
I have no comment, sir.
Right. No more space.
Well, I have no more space to make the program finish.
Oh, sorry. You have a good weekend.
You have a blessed night.
Yeah. And you have a good weekend. So.
What good weekend? I am on tomorrow. Today's Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So you don't want me to come on? All right, so don't come on tomorrow. Okay.
No, I can't. I can never tell you.
Sir, you just said to me.
I stand corrected, sir. I can never tell you what to do. I would never try and tell you what to do.
Why are you? You know, this evening you came on. I did not give you any problems. I know
that.
I allowed you to speak. Why are you now at the ending of the? Why now at the ending of the program? You want to appear as though, or you want to make it look as though you want to get into a brawl, a argument, a bacchanal.
No, sir. If that was the case, I highly apologize. That's not the case. I made a mistake, and I got this started because I had a long day, and I made a mistake. So I was glad to see you on the show tomorrow. Please go out, sir.
You have a blessed evening, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Good night. So Trinidad and Tobago, here's why I say my good night. Here's why I say my thank yous to all of you for being on the live this evening. I hope that the discussion this evening would have awakened some things inside of you for you to be a little more aware, a little more conscious of what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago. There are a lot of things that is happening in Trinidad and Tobago that is going under the radar that you need to be aware of. So you just heard about the solar panel plant. It has shut down. You just heard about our economy. We are 2% growth. You heard about what's going on with a lot of things in Trinidad and Tobago. The CDAP drugs. Please share the live. Share the live. Tell somebody to come on Constructive Talk so that they can be aware and you can be aware. I want to encourage the persons who are on the live, the 1,797 of you. I want to encourage you to please subscribe to the page. Please subscribe to the page and please share the information with somebody else. Have a blessed evening, everyone. Talk to you guys tomorrow, please God, where we continue to discuss issues in Trinidad and Tobago.
The information provided by the speakers and or presenter on Facebook and YouTube is for general informational purposes only. All information is provided in good faith. However, Constructive Talk makes no representation or warranty of any kind, express or implied, regarding the accuracy, adequacy, validity, reliability, availability, or completeness of this information.
The Constructive Talk team with Pastor Google are asking for your support in their back-to-school drive. Let's help the less fortunate children get ready for the new school term. Donations of notebooks, copybooks, stationeries, and book bags would be greatly appreciated. Show your love, show your generosity by contacting 464-703, and we will organize collection of your donations. Thank you from the Constructive Talk team. And remember to be kind, be generous, and be loved.
Coming soon to Constructive Talk Network, Critical Thinkers. It's a youth show with a youth perspective on current affairs and issues in Trinidad and Tobago. Critical Thinkers, youth perspective on Constructive Talk.